Is the hour, so we will call our meeting to order. And we'll go to, are there any additions, deletions to the agenda?
No.
None? Hearing none, is there a motion that we adopt the agenda as it is published?
I make a motion.
Motion,
Second.
second. All in favor by show of hands, and opposed likewise. All right, next, we have the approval of the January 25th, 2021 minutes, which should have been in your agenda packets.
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve those minutes as published? Motion?
I second.
A second. Any discussion? All in favor by show of hands. All right. Department updates. The man of the hour, Mr. Tommy Long.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I want to start with some good news tonight. We received word Friday that 3 of our fire departments in the county are receiving a grant for $30,000 that requires no match,
Well, praise the Lord.
along with the city as well getting one for $30,000. So we're getting
Wonderful.
actually 4 in the county. So that's good news.
Amen.
Wow.
The other thing tonight, I've got the Board of Rescue and the Board of Fire Control chairmans here, and they wanted to go over a request to have some vehicles added back into the budget if possible,
Okay.
and I'm gonna let them present that. I also wanted to bring your attention or get on the radar for the upcoming years ahead of us. Our ladder truck, which is a combined effort between the city and the county, is approaching 20 years old. And Chief Medic's here tonight. You want to add anything as far as maintenance-wise, problems you may be having with the truck or anything of that nature that you want to add?
Certainly. you mind?
Please come forward, yeah.
No, so Tommy and I have been talking again, as he stated, the ladder truck was a joint venture back in 2003, purchased 2004. And of course, it's such a tedious apparatus with hydraulic lines and so forth, raises people 95 feet in the air. And we do annual maintenance, about $4,000 a year on the truck. And so it's been well maintained, well kept up, but we need to put it on the radar of the future any joint efforts with that piece of equipment that not only serves the city, it serves every industry and churches and schools and so forth in the county as well. So it's the only ladder truck in the county as a whole, so there's no backup, no spare. And so we're laying out a plan and a process to try to say, here's what's coming down the pipe with a future replacement or additional ladder truck.
Chief, we appreciate you, and we appreciate the relationship that we share, and I was actually going to make the same point. It's the only ladder truck that has any realistic chance of helping us should we have some of that. So certainly we want to put that on the radar.
Yeah, and we certainly always try to reiterate our mutual aid partners around. Bergen's fire, we had Joanna ladder truck come in that delayed in. St. Paul's church fire, we had Lexington come in. So we have mutual aid partners.
Right.
But it's always that first out, first due response protocol. So.
Mutual aid is a wonderful thing, and I love it, but the truth is you're talking 20, 25 minutes in a best case scenario before it arrives. So we
Yes.
appreciate what goes on in the partnership.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
And they could always be tied up on another call.
Absolutely.
So we can't always depend on it. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to, let's see, who was on there first?
Tommy, I want to ask you a question before you turn it
Okay.
over. Chief Horn, it looks like is next on our agenda,
Yes,
but
sir.
I wanted to ask you just, and this is not, I qualify this with everybody that I talk to. If I ask you a question, it's not because I'm questioning you, I just want to know for my information.
Okay.
Do we have a list of what equipment we have, like such as rolling stock and all those things?
He's gonna give you a list.
Praise the Lord. All right, so.
We've got that for you
If I'd
tonight.
have just waited a minute, Chief, I'd have got it, so.
He's got a list that's got the age of all the fire apparatus in the county.
Great.
And you'll see the age we're talking about when he hands it
And
to you.
can we make a comparison? This is one of the things I thought about. I was kind of challenged about having a new fire department out on Beth Montgomery. You and I had that discussion in a private discussion, not private, but just somewhere offline. And sometimes the question is not how much equipment you have, it's what manpower you have to man that equipment. So can we make a comparative list of what we have available versus
Right.
what equipment we have?
It may not make sense to put a department in a certain place because you just don't have anybody that's going to respond to
Exactly.
vehicles. So you may have to travel from outside that area. So yeah, exactly. But-
Building a $10 million fire station and putting $1 million worth of fire trucks in it doesn't help you if there's nobody to go move those trucks when your house is on fire.
Exactly.
So I think recruitment is something that we as a county are gonna have to look at. Recruitment and retention is something we're gonna have to look at, because if not, we're gonna be in a lot of trouble in a short amount of time.
And unfortunately, we're probably gonna be looking at some full-time positions down the road, and we're working on something to present to y'all for that as well.
And I appreciate that, and I'm not gonna comment one way or the other on that, other than to say that personnel costs are the greatest expense that any
Absolutely.
county has. And so certainly those are some considerations we have to
And
have.
this is not just our county problem, it's countrywide.
My in-laws were in for the funeral last week from Maryland, and they've had to go to pay because they just could not roll their trucks during the daytime, and the costs that they were naming off were scary.
It is, but I'm gonna turn it over to Aubrey.
Chief Horn, please come on and
Glad to. Let me get up.
throw at us whatever you got.
Hand these out to you, a copy of it. First of all, I'm Aubrey Horn. I'm Chairman of the Board of Rural Fire Control, also Chief of St. Philip's Fire Department. You got them? I've been in the fire department. This is my 44th year, by the way.
Well, thank you for that, sir.
Thank you for your service.
We've got a lot of people I got a lot of them in my department that's been in a long time, and some of the other ones do too. They do it because they want to. They want to help the community. That's the only reason they're in it.
Amen.
So I'm here for one purpose, it looks like, tonight, is to give you an idea of what kind of equipment we got out there. You got a list, and this list consists of 56 pieces of equipment. And you can tell that the first 10, they got some age on them, a lot of age. And some of them are at substations, I believe that's right, Tommy? In order to have something there. And then you're going down the line, just looking. First of all, I want to say something before I go to the list. We appreciate the opportunity to come in here, presenting this to you, and making you aware of what we got, what we need. And you'll see as we go along, it's not going to take that long, but we're not asking for that much this year. But we got to maintain what we got. We got to keep this ball rolling, and we appreciate what y'all have done in the past with buying equipment, buying these big trucks. I mean, you got to have them, and you got to keep the stock rolling. If you don't keep it rolling, then you get way behind. And you'll see as we get on the next page, there's a big gap there. We didn't buy a thing for 5 years, and that really hurt. But we'll look at it again, and I'm going to say one more thing, and I'm going to go through this list. There's a man called Albert Einstein. Everybody's heard of him. He said, if you can't explain it simple, then you don't understand it well enough. So I'm here to try to make it very simple,
Okay.
so all of us can understand it, including myself with some of the stuff. And I've been in a long time. I understand what we need. But just look at, you can glance through the list on the first page, look at all that stuff, and go down to number 21 through 27. That's some pumpers we bought. You see we bought a series of them. And then you go on down to tankers. We bought a bunch of tankers in 2006. That helped tremendously. Turn it on the next page, if you will. Go down through there. In 2012, we stopped. It was 5 years we didn't buy nothing, no trucks whatsoever. And then up to 2020, last year, we bought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We bought 6 trucks in 10 years. So that puts the fire service kind of behind when you do that type. If you buy a couple a year, here and there, it doesn't hurt the pocketbook as much. So what we're asking for tonight is you to consider putting 2 pumper tankers back in the budget. I don't know whether you saw the budget. Y'all probably saw part of it. Sometimes y'all don't get to see it all, but we requested just two pumper tankers for this budget year that you got going. And we just request that y'all put that back in, consider that, think about that for us. And I'll give you a little why we need them. Why we need them is Newberry County is growing somewhat, and y'all know that as well as I do because y'all involved in it. But you got all these businesses, Samsung, Komatsu, all the big businesses up there. And as I was coming up here, I saw all the help wanted signs. So they hiring people. Everybody's hiring somewhere or another. You're going down to 773, y'all just approved the zoning, just approved for a housing development down there of 80 to 90 houses. And we'll be covering, my station will be covering the backup to Port Mary on that station. So you throw that many houses in there, you better have some equipment to get there. And we'll probably, I think we're like 4 miles from there, Tommy, and like 4. But we'll need more equipment going forward. A lot of houses in the county being built. You can ride around and see individual residents being built. Some of them's out in the country. There's no water supply there. Absolutely zero. Now, y'all did, I had the 1% money approved them tanks over in the consolidated area, out in a very rural area. Those are in place now, some of them. Those are very helpful. But when you get over on our side, it's going to take a little bit to get you water there. Now, these pumper tankers hold 3,000 gallons, I believe it is. That's right. 3,000, and the name tells it all. It's a pumper, and it's a tanker. So you got 3,000 gallons of water. Right now, our pumpers only carry 1,000 gallons. So it's a significant difference, and that serves 2 purposes. You got a pumper and a tanker in one. And I know that y'all have to talk about the cost later, but that's why we need them. I hope I explained it. It's very simple of why we need them. And that's really all I got to talk about. If y'all would please consider putting them back in the budget for the fire service. Now, you know, y'all hit it on a little bit earlier about the firemen. We got a lot of firemen getting older. We have some people coming in. Recruitment Retention, Gene Sheet is doing that for us. Y'all probably aware of that. I just got 2 last year out of his program. A couple of young guys. I got one that just joined, one that just got an application, and I got one out of the school program, finished the program, full firefighter. So I got one out of there. So I've got 3 right now. Before that, before we had the retention, before we had the programs at the school, it was 0. It was 0. It is helping some. Some of the other areas has gotten some. I think Consolidated got some. I think Pat can attest to that. They've got a few. So it's working. We got to keep it working. And that's a joint venture with the city and the county together.
Yes.
Keep it. There you are. You moved. That's another joint feature there with Gene. The county and the city helped put the bill on that. But we need to keep that going also. But daytime, you know, y'all hit on that. Getting tough. We got all these people are younger, so they got to work for a living. So they're not around. I'm retired, like you, Todd. But when you retire, you got more to do than you don't.
I don't know how every time you work,
That's
Chief.
exactly right. I've been retired since 2014, believe me. I stay busy every day.
Yes, sir.
I spent a good bit of time at the fire department and take care of business in Tommy's office and things like that. But I'm aware of all this, all these trucks, and if you look at the first 10, there's no reason to have a truck that old anywhere whatsoever. And Tommy's doing a good job of taking these old ones out. We just took one of ours out, 1987 GMC. We took it out of service. That's one of the first trucks we ever had in our department. Took it completely out of service. So he's done away with it, put it on the auction block. Tommy's got 3, I think, up there now. 3 of them sitting up there at the maintenance shop. It's not like we adding.
That
We're
was
doing
my
away.
question,
We're
too.
taking away and we're adding to. So hopefully, and Tommy's got in mind for a couple more to put up there to get rid of. You don't have to pay tax on it. You don't have to pay insurance on it. So that being said, that does help somewhat. Take some out. You can take 2 out and get a pumper tanker and put 1 in its place. Makes a lot of sense to me to do it that way.
So the older ones are the ones that only hold 1,000?
Not all of them. The ones that says tanker, they 1,800. I think most of them are. There's a couple pumper tankers at 3,000.
We've got 3 3,000 gallon tankers that was bought in that 2006 batch,
They don't say that, does it?
and the rest of those was 1,800 gallons.
That's correct.
And we've gotten 3 other 3,000 gallon tankers since we bought those. So we do have a number of 3,000 gallon tankers already in the fleet. And those 2 that's highlighted in yellow are going to be taken out I'm just waiting on them to turn them in because we got a new tanker. They're having to transfer everything off of it. But those 2 trucks are going out. My goal is to get this down to 50, where we at 56 now. But until we can get some more trucks purchased where we can take 2 out for 1, that's where we stand at right now.
There you go. That's correct.
And Tommy, let me ask you, no disrespect to you, Chief.
Go ahead, ask them away.
The price for one of these tanker pumpers ballpark is,
Okay, the one we just bought last year, we was able to buy 2 of them at the same time. We got them for 300,000.
okay?
Now, our budget 350 because, as we all know, prices go up, and those was actually
Absolutely.
demo trucks. So I came across those and saved our county some money getting them as demos. But it's hard to tell till you bid out to see what they're gonna come in at. I will look for demos again, but don't never know if those will be out there.
And the second question I have, they already know the answer to that I don't, and that is because of the death in my family last week. I was not at the budget work session. So did y'all present to the budget
We
work
did
session?
not, no.
Can you plan on doing that on this coming Monday night
We
at the next
can.
work session,
We
please?
can.
Okay,
Yeah, we can do that.
No problem.
okay,
That's what we need to do.
all right.
But I think that's really all I got. I'm gonna stick to Einstein saying is keep it simple. Hopefully I explained it well enough that I understood and y'all understood, hopefully.
Irby Raines gave us a Whitmire saying, and that was KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And so
That's right.
I need that part of it.
Okay.
So
That's fine. Do y'all have any questions for me?
I was thinking to return it over to them. Any questions that I haven't asked?
Okay.
Well, he answered the one about rotating off. I wanted to know
Right.
what you
We're
did with
moving
it.
some out. Tommy's moving them out, doing a good job of that, and we correspond.
There's some things I want to study. I know we went into this lease program, I think 2013. Do you know, Debbie?
We do one about every year.
That's why I don't understand the 5-year gap, but, yeah, so I'm wanting to get some other data.
Y'all can look at that, I guess,
'Cause
but there was no truck
Just
bought.
FYI, our payments on that, what we owe now, is nearly 900,000 a year we're having to pay out,
Correct.
still purchasing. Next year it's gonna be nearly $1 million, so,
Right. We understand. We with y'all. I mean, we got bills to pay too. We got taxes to pay too, but,
so we're trying to look at the
Look
whole
at
big
it.
picture.
right, I
And
understand.
I do wanna dig into what we have purchased with those
Right.
lease
And you could
purchases.
see, you
and-
could look at it and see if you added 2 more, what it'd be if you wanted to. and
Yeah,
Hopefully it would work out, but, if we miss a year, you miss a lot. If you
Well-
miss 2 years, you miss a lot.
well, I know that, it's time for, and I don't even know if this can be put in it, the, 1 cent sales tax that we got on now.
That's coming up, right?
It's coming up.
Right.
You can't
I doubt
put it
It's
on.
not that you can't put it in there. That was just done, what, 2 years ago?
But it's coming up.
Yeah, it's coming up.
7 years.
Buy equipment.
I got you.
You can't.
But just real quick, and I'll be quiet, that our firemen do a good job out
Yes.
there. We do a lot of fundraisers. Every department does some type of fundraiser. We buy a lot of miscellaneous stuff ourselves, and sometimes y'all match the grants. We bought pagers. I think we just recently got 10 different ones, 2 different times. I saw a bunch of them on Tommy's desk that some of the other departments are doing. We do fundraising. We buy stuff that we need.
No question.
Obviously, we can't go out and buy a $350,000 truck. He has to sell a lot of
A
chickens.
lot of chickens.
We just had a chicken barbecue. We made $3,000. That ain't quite enough, but we do the best we can with what we got. We buy the stuff we need. We buy flashlights, things like that. Some of the businesses that are in the county now are gracious enough to give us some grants. Komatsu give us enough to buy a computer, which we have to do fire reports on. I think some of the other departments got some money from them. Friendly got some from Samsung. I'm asking for some from them. So businesses are helping us out in a small way, but we appreciate every penny that we get.
Sir.
And obviously they can't buy, they could, I guess, but they don't normally buy us a fire truck. But we've been to Samsung numerous times. They still work. It's a work in progress out there with their fire system, fire alarms. We just went the other night. We've been 3 times this month, but we working with them, trying to get it squared away, trying to get them to fix it. The city was there also twice with us with the tower truck. Y'all talked about the tower truck earlier. We had to use the tower truck to get on top of the roof because there was an air conditioning transformer that caught fire. So that tower, you know, we had to have it to get up there. Now, they had a ladder, but it was about 30 or 40 feet straight up in the air. And I wasn't willing to climb. But it does benefit us. The tower truck does. I'll throw a little plug in there for you, Keith.
And it takes a minute getting up that ladder with a hose on your shoulder.
But I would
Chief,
appreciate
I don't think there's any question that we are blessed with the first responders we have in Newberry County, and I would dare say you'd have a harder time finding a bigger sponsor of those and a bigger proponent
We
of
appreciate
those.
it.
So we're certainly appreciative.
We got some dedicated people, I can tell you that right
Yeah,
now. 'Cause
no
they go out
question.
there and it don't matter what day or night, if they're around, they come.
And I tell everybody, not only that, but you have partnerships and agreement like no other county. Most of the times you find public safety fighting amongst itself, and so it's a
We
blessing.
work very well together, I believe. You know, I've been doing it a long time, and I've seen a lot of changes and a lot of good changes from y'all.
Yes, sir.
That helped us out over the years, but we want to keep that going, hopefully, and hopefully you can find somehow, some way to find a little money to put 2 trucks, pumper tankers for this year's budget. And I'm hoping you can, and if you can't, then we understand that, but
Yes, sir.
you can see our need.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for your time, sir,
Thank you.
and thank you for your service. Debbie, what is a meal this year, just out of curiosity?
About 150,000.
Okay. So you'd be talking about 4 meals? Gotcha, okay.
All right.
All
I'm
right,
gonna have-
just need for the mind.
Chief Johnson here is chairman of the rescue squad. I'm gonna have him come up and do a little presentation. But I wanted to
Okay.
tell you also, Samsung just donated us a 72-inch TV for our training grounds.
Wonderful.
So we are reaching out to these industries to help us in certain ways as we can, to help us save on things, so.
Good evening. A little more paperwork for you, keep your logins on.
Thank you.
They just got a bunch of trees. Good evening. Again, my name's Chris Johnson. I'm the chairman for the Board of Rescue, as well as the chief at Newberry Rescue Squad. We as well are coming with our hands out, but this is a proposal that's been 20 years in the making. We have 2 ambulances that are very near to probably catastrophic failures and being unfixable, unusable. Our ambulance and Lake Murray Rescue Squad's ambulance. I've been at the rescue squad for going on a little over, probably right at 25 years. I started as a junior rescue squad member while I was in high school and have rose through the time. And it is unfortunate to say that during my 25 years, our rescue squad has never seen a new ambulance. The ambulance that was in service when I got there in the early 90s was bought in 1987. And when it was replaced in early 2000, it was replaced with a used truck from the hospital. Matter of fact, our ambulance and Little Mountain's ambulance were sister trucks when we got them. Well, the Mountain's ambulance suffered a catastrophic failure several years ago and had to be replaced. I believe it was 2017, but that truck had to end up having to be replaced. Because these trucks have gotten to the age that they are, we're not able to remount them. Where we could typically just buy a cab and chassis and reuse the box, the manufacturers have told us that the trucks are too old and the safety requirements have changed since they were built, that we can't even use them for remounts. We have to look at purchasing new trucks. You'll see our ambulance recently was almost completely gone when we were on a standby medical mission at a structure fire in Chapels. I remember turned around to see smoke coming out the hood of our ambulance while sitting on scene, and come to find out the alternator up under the engine had caught fire, and you can see the damage that it caused. It has been replaced and been repaired, but the truck still does not run adequately where it should be, even since it's been replaced. Lake Murray's ambulance, I think, was probably one of the last new trucks that were bought, and that was in 2001. That truck's nearing 20 years old, and it as well is having mechanical problems, seeing a lot of downtime, maintenance issues, and it as well is past that age limit of being remounted. That it's going to have to be replaced. It has served its purpose. We are requesting to have these 2 trucks replaced over the next 2 years, having one entered back in the budget this year at a cost of $250,000, and the second unit next year at probably the same cost, if not a little bit more, depending on where bids come in. Some of the problems that we run into and why these trucks have to be replaced and not remounted, DHEC has basically adopted what is called the Triple K federal standard for Star Life ambulances, and that lays out the minimum standard that these ambulances have to meet for us to be able to utilize them. In 61.7, section 600A, it says that these ambulances have to meet either the Triple K standard or it has to meet NFPA 1917, which is actually an even more stringent requirement. So typically our ambulances are built to the Triple K standard, but it makes those prices go up. And so one of the things with the Triple K standard is out, it's seen 7 different revisions just in the last 6 years. And so if you look at the age of these ambulances, that is part of the reason why they are unable to be remounted and have to be replaced. You'll see on the back page the other ambulances in the squad. Pomeria and Whitmire Rescue Squad were fortunate enough in 2011 that they were able to be awarded an AFG grant to have their ambulances replaced. Unfortunately, the priorities for that grant has changed since that time when those 2 trucks were ordered, and the ability to get ambulances off of that grant have become extremely difficult. I can tell you our rescue squad has applied each year for the last 10 years trying to get an ambulance replaced, and each year we've been turned down. So we have been trying to seek alternative funding, but unfortunately that avenue is becoming less and less available as far as what the federal government calls a non-affiliated EMS organization. It's harder to get those ambulances. That funding goes to other places. Chapels as well was able to have their ambulance replaced in 2008 through that same grant, a little bit older truck. But other than that, Prosperity's truck was a used truck that came over from the hospital. It's a van type ambulance, which is not really conducive for 911 work. It's more for non-emergency transports because of the room in the back. And then again, you'll notice the newest truck on the list is Little Mountains, and again, that's the sister truck to the truck that we're asking to be replaced for the very same similar issues that they had when that truck completely failed, and that truck had to be replaced mid-year. And so we're trying to do this through the budget process so that it doesn't come as a shock mid-year to have to come in and ask for that money, as well as increasing the downtime that ambulance is going to see while we wait on funding to come in, mid-year instead of through the budget process. One of the main reasons that I think it's important, especially for Newberry and for Lake Murray's ambulances to be replaced, is our rescue squad is solely responsible for covering the football games at Newberry High School as well as Newberry College. We also cover the downtown festivals that occur and provide medical coverage at those events. Lake Murray as well are providing medical coverage for all the different festivities and things that occur on Lake Murray, in addition to providing 911 call response to different emergency calls throughout the county. So we do a dual role, emergent and standby events for these events. And Chief Johnson, I know you're aware, with the high school sports and with college sports, they're required to have that ambulance on scene or else they're not supposed to play football. So it's a requirement that has to be there, and either we can continue to provide that as a volunteer, or they're going to have to pass that cost on to, either hiring some type of transport service or some other service to come in, and that's going to be extremely expensive, which is going to take away from those kids, especially at the high school level, from their budgets for being able to play sports. So again, I think it's a great opportunity that we provide as our volunteers, for the county, but it's 20 years in the making that I feel like it's time for those trucks to be in the budget to be replaced in the next 2 years. Does anybody have any questions?
I would make the same request of you, is that we have a budget work
Absolutely.
session on Monday night, and so I think that's probably gonna be the better place to, if we could give it to you, it'd be different, but we.
Understood.
The budget work session is probably gonna be a great place to do that, if you don't mind returning on Monday
Absolutely
night,
not.
please.
We'd be happy to. We feel like, with the facts in the right place, that y'all will make the right decision to.
Are these all the ambulances?
Yes, ma'am. Those are the ambulances that are needing to be replaced. The county has done a fairly good job of keeping the rescue trucks where they need to be over the last 10 years. But in making that a priority, we've neglected the ambulances, and it's time that we get the rescue squads and the ambulances in a rolling stock replacement plan as well, and that's what we're trying to get started.
For Monday night, Tommy, could we also get a list of EMS ambulances, because we purchased those as well, right? So I think we need to look at that as well as part of that
A list of-
consideration.
Yeah.
Thank you so
See you then.
much.
Thank you.
Appreciate what you do. What a great service to this county. Nat, my dear friend, I know that you're signed up for public comments, but my guess is it's about this. So if my fellow members of this committee don't mind, I'd let you go ahead and address this if you like.
I can't talk around one of these.
You take it down. You're far
The
enough
staff
away.
department, climbing trees and doing what I do is not compatible with that. I looked around the room earlier, and we've got a lot of community-minded individuals here. Whether you're on staff, an employee, or just here as a volunteer, I see a lot of folks here that are here for the betterment of the county, and that's encouraging. I'm not here to beg for money. I wanted to kind of bring you up to speed on the rescue squad's work and their work together over the last couple of years. I'm not sure that everyone is aware of some of the movement in the rescue squads. So whether you are or not, I'm going to try to help educate you. I'm going to keep it simple. If you have any questions,
There you go.
throw your hand up there. I'm not sure if you're aware, but a couple years ago, 4 rescue squads in the county expressed interest in going together and becoming one rescue squad to help consolidate some of the expenses as well as some of the licenses and permits that are required. Chapels, Newberry, Lake Murray, and Little Mountain went under one license. We incorporated as a nonprofit. That incorporation is NICESA, which stands for Newberry County Emergency Service Alliance. We are a 501c3, and I've got some handouts. You're just going to have to hear me because I think that this is the only copy right here. Chris is my man here. I want to. If anyone has any questions, I'll get you to make some copies, Debbie. Thank you. To introduce myself, my name is Nat Barochek. I'm the Assistant Chief at Little Mountain Rescue. I'm a paramedic. I've been a paramedic for 25 years. I'm an interior certified firefighter. I participate with Little Mountain. I've done a lot of other things in the county, but that's kind of where I have had to draw a line to balance that work-life balance, that work-life volunteer balance. I told you that the 4 squads are participating. I want to let you know what we have been able to accomplish with that. We've reduced our fees and permits. There are many different permits and license fees and so forth that are required every year. We've been able to consolidate that from 4 redundant permits to 1. That saves the county money. It helps streamline the process. Our vision for the county is to reduce the redundancy and try to bring everyone together. Long term, I think that's going to be the best solution for serving our communities, is to have more of a one system rather than a multitude of small systems that have a difficult time communicating sometimes. Some of our achievements over the last couple of years with the help of the administration staff here at the county have been replacing cardiac monitors on all the trucks throughout the county. That sounds like a small thing. Cardiac monitors are important, and it's just another tool on the truck, but cardiac monitors are about $30,000 a piece. We have currently replaced, I believe, all 7 of them. We were able to negotiate with the providers, and we were able to get good deals there. We were able to have some savings that we were able to bring to bear on that. We also have reworked our oxygen contract, and we've saved a significant amount of money through negotiation of oxygen, medical supplies, and other areas to save money so that we can have some funding for areas that we really need it. I'm bringing this up to you folks because we are looking as Nikisa, as the 4-squad organization. I want you to be in the loop because very soon you're probably going to get inquiries. We are looking at a challenge. There's a challenge in the volunteer ranks to promote and encourage that volunteerism. Things are changing in our culture. Things are changing in our society. People are not willing to do things for the same motivating reasons that they were maybe 20 years ago. That presents a challenge to rescue squads and fire departments and other organizations that rely in our county almost exclusively on that volunteer spirit. There's some drivers there. One of them is finances. It's busy. Life is expensive. A lot of our participants are younger. They have families. They have financial obligations. And it's hard in the rescue setting, in the fire setting, it's hard to say, I'm going to take this time off of work, not get paid for 3 or 4 hours at a block, pay for the certification, pay for the training, pay to run my truck to go or car to where there is a need, commit the time to do the paperwork for sometimes hours after the call. All that at a cost. It's a cost, that volunteer, straight cost. We are entertaining and have decided to pursue a way to help incentivize those members that would be willing to come and participate in that rescue need. We are looking at trying to improve our recruitment and retention. Some of our older folks, and I'll put myself in that category, I haven't been doing it for 44 years. I think I was doing the math just now. I think it's 27 years. So you're old.
I'm older than 30.
But there's a lot of young folks that are entering the field that would like to participate, but are looking at the actual cost associated with that. As an organization, Nikisa is looking at compassionate billing. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the term. It is a way to pass on the cost of performing the service to those people that actually utilize that service. We are looking at trying to use some of that proceed to assist with that recruitment and retention that we talked about earlier. How can we interest some of these new participants in this field, particularly in the transport field? And Corey Bishop was planning on being here tonight, but he was tied up at the hospital. He's the director of EMS. EMS is struggling right now. If no one knows, you're welcome to contact him. EMS is struggling to cover the bases in the county from a personnel standpoint. Emergency services is struggling across the country. There's not enough people there to fill the positions to provide the timely response that we expect as a community. Right now, while it would be great to just go ahead and hire a few more paramedics and staff a few more trucks and up the available units in the county, we're struggling to do that on a paid level as well as a volunteer level. This is not a good time on the volunteer side. It's not a good time to sit back and just see what happens. We need to be aggressive. We need to be looking for ways to improve the response of those EMS trucks, those ambulances that Chris is talking about. We can get new trucks, but if we don't have people to roll them to scenes and offer to transport people and actually get involved in that fashion, they're not going to do us much good. So we're looking at trying to explore ways to incentivize those folks to take the time, not just to run a call and go pat you on the back until other help gets there, but to actually get engaged, put you in an ambulance, and take you to definitive care. One way that we have explored is to look at billing. It'll be on a per-use basis. In other words, if we come to your house, help you back into your bed or help you off the floor, and you don't want to go to the hospital, there'd be no charge. If you need your blood pressure checked or you need assistance in some fashion that doesn't result in transportation to a hospital, there would be no charge, just as there is now, no charge. If we get there as a rescue organization and decide that this patient needs to be transported by EMS, there would be no additional charge other than what EMS would charge. If that crew decides to transport, we are exploring being able to turn over the details of that transport and allowing a billing organization to bill on our behalf to Medicare insurance with a statement to that patient explaining what is taking place. There's a lot of details to work through, but we are pursuing that. We would like to act and move on that sometime by the end of June. We intend to use those monies kind of in a 1% fashion. And if you're familiar with the 1% fund on the fire service, it is used, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's used for improving the morale of a team. It's used for recruitment retention. It cannot be used for equipment per se. It cannot be used to replace rolling stock per se. That's a county responsibility. That's a county expense. But we're looking at trying to improve the involvement. We want a waiting list at our squad of people who want to come run calls and be available to run calls. That's something that we used to have 20 years ago. Someone just about had to die to be able to participate in the volunteer services. We want to return to that. And we feel like one way to do that would be to offer a stipend to the crew that is running the call to offset some of the costs associated with providing that service. I wanted to bring that to your attention and let you know that that is something that we as an organization are pursuing. There's going to be plenty of questions. I'm sure there will be plenty of concern. We are trying to handle each one of those questions as they come in. But that is the direction that we feel is going to be in the best interest for our community here to provide the prompt response of a transport-capable unit when that call comes in. I hope I was clear enough, and I would welcome any questions now or later to try to help you understand our approach and what we're trying to achieve. Yes, sir.
You stated it's going to be billed to, who for your stipend to your department?
The organizations that we are talking with take the billing information. So if we transport someone to the hospital, they would take that person's information and they would look at what was performed on that call. So if you were experiencing, let's just take, for instance, if you were having a heart attack, they would take the procedures that were done en route to the hospital and they would bill, they would generate a bill. That bill would be sent, with your permission, would be sent to Medicare. It'd be sent to your insurance if you have insurance. And you would receive a statement saying that we are billing on your behalf these organizations for compensation. It would be at our discretion as to how aggressively that collection would be pursued. Now, some county, a county organization, they're going to go so far as to garnish wages. They'll go so far as to pursue tax return funding. They'll put liens on houses and so forth. They're very aggressive in getting their money. We can tailor that to be as aggressive or non-aggressive as we want. But to be legal, there has to be a reasonable attempt made to collect the funds. Does that answer your question? I hope I didn't go around your question.
That's clear.
I would just ask, I mentioned earlier about my in-laws being in Maryland. They use a courtesy billing system. And so what I would ask, just being straightforward, is that you work through Tommy and whatever is decided come back through this committee and through the full council before anything is enacted along those lines. Because I think we do have input into what is done there, simply because we're providing all the equipment.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And just to let you know, I feel like with some new folks on it, I've wanted to bring you up to speed. This is something that we have been talking for about the last 2 years. We kind of took a hiatus from it this past year with the COVID concern. We didn't feel like it was good timing to continue on the track that we were on. But this is something that we have been working on and through with the previous administration
Right.
on making happen. So I want to bring you folks up to speed. We're
The-
re-implementing our pursuit of that.
There would even be some legal considerations I think we'd have to make, and there'd also be some tax liability considerations for those receiving, because no matter what you call it, once you cross
Absolutely.
600, you're going to 1099 people, and then you could mess them up. So I think there's, I'm not casting off the idea. Again, I've heard of courtesy bills for about the last 10 years from my in-laws, and their mindset was, we bill you, if you pay it, you pay it, and if you don't, you don't, and they just take what they can get from insurance companies and stuff. They don't, as you said, they don't do, judgments and garnishments and that kind of stuff. So I'm not against the idea, but I think there's a lot to be talked about before we
There
arrive
certainly
at-
is.
at something
And
like
one
that.
thing, I said I'm not here to ask for money, but what we are going to need is going to be some administrative support. So that's definitely, there's a lot of moving parts to what we're
Yes.
proposing.
And even if, and I'm not saying, I say even if we go along, and I'm not saying I'm against it, but even if we were in agreement with it, I think there would have to be a great public education campaign.
Absolutely.
Because you're gonna hear people say, oh, I pay taxes for that, why are you now sending me a bill? So you're gonna have to do some education about how that works as well.
Right.
Yep.
So I think there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of things that have to be discussed, but again, I'm not just dropping the hammer on the idea just because of that.
That was the purpose of me coming here to get that conversation.
And you can't be
Started.
getting old because you were in the first reserve class I ever taught, and so you can't be that old.
You know what this means.
That's right.
Again,
Any other questions?
If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Tommy knows how to get in touch with us.
Thank you so much, Nat. Thank you for what you do. Anything else, Tommy?
That's it from my side.
Okay, fantastic. Next, yes. We have a discussion of the proposed ordinance in support of designating Newberry County as a Second Amendment sanctuary county. I know you're signed up for public comments, but I guarantee you I know what it's about. So you want to come up and talk to us, or
I'd rather y'all,
kick it around first?
so I can make a comment.
Okay, all right. I actually have spent a significant amount of time in prayer about this. You and I have had some offline discussions. I've had some discussions individually with this, and then I was led to the Horry County ordinance. And Jay, I haven't even had a chance to get this to you because I was on the road today. Have you seen the Horry County ordinance?
I've seen a version of it.
Okay, which, and I have it on my phone. I didn't have a printer where I was working because I was away from home today. So let me get you both to listen to this, and as well as my fellow committee members as well. And it goes through some of the whereases that are kind of the dress-up stuff. But it says, their county council wishes to address them as a Second Amendment sanctuary city and to oppose within the limits of the Constitution of the United States and for the state of South Carolina any efforts to unconstitutionally restrict such rights and to the use of such legal means at the disposal to protect the rights of the citizens of Horry County, which would obviously be changed to Newberry County, to keep and bear arms, including through legal action, the power to appropriate public funds, and the right to petition for redress of grievances, and the power to direct law enforcement and the employees of Horry County to not enforce any unconstitutional law.
Well, that's basically what I submitted in January the 20th.
It kind of is, but it went farther to start saying about, it has some language in there about the registrations and some other things that really caused me a lot of concern about what we would do with it. But I am very comfortable with this language if you are. If you're not, let's talk about it. That's why I asked you to come tonight.
I'd like to see the whole ordinance.
Okay?
Let me approach.
Come on up. Again, that's why I wasn't putting you off. I was genuinely wanting to have a conversation about this.
Well, this was presented in January the 20th. Mr. Tothiger said he needed 3 weeks to research it and to, I assumed he was going to be to present the ordinance, but we're 1 day short of being 4 months.
Yes, sir.
So where are we at with the Anderson County ordinance that I presented in January the 20th? That's one of my main concerns.
Okay.
And I understand after the ordinance was submitted, council got a confidential email concerning the ordinance, stating the supremacy clause, which told you there's such a thing.
Yes, sir.
But nowhere in this ordinance does the ordinance contradict the Constitution or the supremacy clause or the South Carolina Constitution. I mentioned, or what was mentioned, was 219-056 in 2019. I think it was September the 17th. Mayor Benjamin tried to run legislation through the the red flag law.
Yes, sir.
With a whole bunch of you can't do this, totally in contradictory to the Second Amendment.
Yes, sir.
A.G. Wilson made an opinion on that, called it a legislative scheme. Totally shot it down, said it was totally against the Constitution. But nothing in what you read of the Horry County or the Anderson County resolution does anything contrary to the Second Amendment, to the United States Constitution, or to the South Carolina Constitution.
That is correct.
So there's no what I'm trying to put the word is, there's nothing conflicting with the supremacy clause.
The only conflict I would see is there are several things in the Anderson ordinance that I found that contradicted federal law. It may not contradict the Constitution, but it did contradict federal law. And therefore, federal law will always supersede county ordinance.
It
Always.
does, but the Constitution supersedes federal law.
Absolutely.
Well, I can't believe we're having a conversation about these sanctuary cities that's all over the United States.
Yes, sir.
Is supposedly violating immigration laws by what they're doing, and they're getting by with it.
Absolutely.
And here we are debating a constitutionally protected right to keep and bear arms for self-protection, and we're having a conversation about a protected right where these sanctuary cities are violating supposedly federal law.
Well, now, first, we're not a sanctuary. We're not doing any of those things. So that's not fair to us.
But the comparison is they are getting by with
But we're not doing. We're not doing.
Well,
that.
I understand that. We don't want to be there.
That's not fair to compare us to that because we're not doing that. But I completely agree. You and I have had great conversations about. I'm a staunch Second Amendment supporter. Own weapons myself. Carried a weapon for 31 years in my course of my career choice, and so the question is not, do I support the Second Amendment? I absolutely 100% support the Second Amendment. My question is, can we craft an ordinance that will both do what you want to do, but not contradict federal law?
Well, absolutely. Now, I'm speaking for the law-abiding gun owners of Newberry County.
Yes, sir.
This has been going on for 4 months, and if everybody pays attention to what's going on the news, this administration is absolutely destroying the Constitution.
Yes, sir.
And we can't wait around on comparing resolutions or ordinances and to draw something that we all going to like. We got to put a stop to this commandeering overreach of federal government and restrictions on the citizens of law-abiding gun owners.
Yes, sir. I don't disagree with anything you're saying, but I want to craft it in a way that makes sense for us as a county ordinance and qualifies that if we as a county pass this, we can't ever supersede federal law.
Well, understand that. There's 1,188 counties as of March the 24th in the United States has adopted some kind of ordinance like this and put it in force.
Right.
Now, it's the same Constitution across the United States, so why can't we do this here?
I don't see any reason why we can't. In fact, my understanding is there's already been a resolution passed in support of the Second Amendment. And I want you to look at this, and if we can agree as a committee with you that this ordinance looks okay, then we're ready to rock and roll.
And again, it's not me. I'm talking, I'm speaking on behalf of.
You have become the voice of.
Somebody's
of this
got to do
movement.
it.
Absolutely.
You tell me a time and a place, I'll be there.
Okay.
But we cannot let this keep on dragging on.
I can email it to you tonight when we get ready to leave here. How about that?
All right, then we're going to talk about it Wednesday at the regular council meeting?
I don't know that we can turn it that quick, but we can do it at the next one.
Well, surely we can turn it within 40 days.
Yes, sir. I think 2 days is unreasonable. I think 2 weeks is very reasonable.
All right,
Is that fair enough?
it is.
Okay. I want you to know that I am 100% with you. It may seem like I'm not, but I promise you I am absolutely. I just have been twisted by the legal system long enough to know how this gets turned and twisted, and I want to make something that stands.
Well, and again, my concern was, tomorrow makes 4 months.
I understand
And this
your
has not
concern.
been brought up to the council. It's been sitting on the lawyer's desk.
That would not be fair. He actually responded to us with a
Yeah,
legal
in
opinion.
in a secret email that talk
Which,
about.
which attorney-client advice is always protected. And again, I know you don't like that, but that's, I
I ain't
get
buying
it.
that at all.
I understand, sir. I understand.
And condolences to you and your family.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your kindness to me. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I just have to state for the record, because I don't need to leave that out there. I didn't do anything secretive. I provided the response to you in less than time period.
Right.
And I provided it because it's legal advice and the way that it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I don't appreciate Mr. Wimmer characterizing me as hiding something, taking 4 months, or being secretive about it.
It was not secretive. It was advice he gave us. And so I don't want him to own that because he did what he was paid to do by the county.
I understand that. As I stated, he said it'd take you 3 weeks to write the ordinance, and we're 4 months.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I just have to correct the wrong impression. I never said I would write the ordinance. You asked me if I would review it and
That is
provide
correct.
a response. That's what I did in the way that I had to provide it as your attorney. I'm not responding to Mr. Wimmer. He's not my client.
Right.
So I didn't hold it up for 4 months. I provided it to county council. If there's anybody who didn't do something, it's county
It's
council.
county, it's on us.
I'm not pointing
I
at
own
you,
that.
but-
I own that. Yes, sir.
It did, it
You
stopped
know
with
what?
us.
But in today's world, for somebody to say I own it is almost unheard of. So I'll admit that, and I've struggled with it. I'll just be honest with you. I mean, I shared my concerns with you. Is I don't want to put a deputy sheriff in the place of standing between you and a federal agent, because I know that ends poorly for everybody. And so I've struggled with it for that reason. But I think that you're going to find this reasonable. I think we're all going to find this reasonable, and I think there's a path forward if you'll just take a look at what I found today, sir.
Very good.
Yes, sir. Anybody else? Any questions for Mr. Wimmer? I just brought him up. Anybody got any questions for him? No? All right. Hearing.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
we have a constitution already drawn up, correct? And you're gonna risk your officer's life putting an amendment resolution to it? Wouldn't that create problems for them?
I think it is inherently, the three scenarios, if we have an ordinance that violates county law, as I laid out, and I'm not trying to be confrontational, are a deputy sheriff gets arrested for obstruction of justice in the federal system. A federal agent gets arrested by a deputy sheriff for trying to violate our county ordinance, or somebody gets hurt in the process of one or both of those trying to happen. I don't want to set that scenario in motion. So if we can do that without putting that in place, I think that we can all win in this.
Well, Mr. Chairman, some of that is already in place.
Sure it is. Sure it is. That's what the court system is for.
I've looked at 18 U.S. Code 241 and 242. Both addresses exactly what you're speaking of.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And I think that's where, if we just look at this, and again, I'll stay over. If you want to look at it tonight, I'll stay over and let you hold my phone and look at it. And the only way I could do it was email it to myself, because I didn't have access to a printer. I would have had it printed out.
Well, I'd rather you send it to me like you said, and, when you read it, digest it.
And I'll give you my cell phone number. I believe you've got it. Yes. I wasn't gonna tell everybody that, Mr. Webb. But you could have my cell phone number so that we don't have to wait till later on. Let's me and you talk about it, because I'm old school, and I believe two reasonable people can sit down and discuss anything and come to a fair conclusion, so.
Very good.
All right. All right, any other public comments? I think we've taken care of the two that were signed up. Any comments or requests from council members?
I have a comment.
Ms. Mayor?
In the budget, we do have one ambulance in there.
Yes, EMS ambulance.
It's an EM, okay. And we have a brush mini pumper.
That's what with mine.
Okay. Okay. That's all.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Reverend Scurry?
That's lovely.
Okay. All right, no executive session needed, so now,
I make a motion that we adjourn.
there's a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second your motion.
All right, all in favor by show of hands, we are adjourned.